Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to show you my 2019 and 2020 bullet journal flip through while being cozy in bed because I can't be bothered to walk to my desk. A lot of things have happened with and along this journal, and I'm looking forward to diving back down into memory lane and sharing it with you all. It's nostalgic because I started this Instagram account with this journal and posted spreads for fun. So if you've been following me since then, first of all, thank you so much, and second, you'll see some familiar spreads in here, but you'll also see some spreads that I've never posted online, so that should be fun. I'm going to be flipping through as swiftly as possible because she is thick, but I'll stop and talk about certain pages that I think are and were important. And without further ado, let's get right into it. This was a post-it note from my boyfriend when I was studying for the MCAT, and he went off to work and I stayed behind to study. I thought it was really nice, so I kept it, and I guess I kept it in the front page. This was a grid space inspired by Miss Amanda Rach Lee. I never really used it and it wasn't really helpful, but now I know I don't really need it. I used to do quarters for future logs, and I journal reflections at the end of the month, but I honestly couldn't keep up with it. But I did try though. And this is my first page and only page of January 2019. I wrote about like a specific highlight during that month, about my time at Las Vegas with my boyfriend and his brother and one of our pre-med and now med student friends, and I put my hotel cards in this little envelope that I made. It's supposed to flip open and to show some more highlights that I've had during my time there. And this is another page for February 2019. It was Lunar New Year of the boar at that time, and I kept all the red envelopes that I got that year and made it into like this little flippy collage. And I just wrote about the highlights of that month as well as little memorabilia when I volunteered at church. I wanted March 2019 to be a yellow theme inspired by the song by Coldplay. That opening line is just, it hits hard. However, I had difficulty keeping to a color theme, and I find that that's like a consistent thing I have. Ooh, I really loved making these boxes for my weekly, but it took way too long. However, I really like the red and yellow combo a lot, and I'm pretty proud of what I made during that time. And this is my little Prince spread, and it's my favorite spread of that month during that time. I loved everything about the little prince, like the stories, the quotes, the characters, and I highly recommend reading it if you haven't read it yet. And I know there's a movie on it, and this is kind of a hot take, but I did not like the movie. It has a lot of potential, and overall it's pretty charming, but I just don't agree with the direction they went with it in the end, and just I feel like it diluted the emotions and message of the book, especially the end, if you guys know what I'm talking about. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about the movie and or the book. And as for April 2019, this is when I started to love making portraits, but I kind of stuck to the anime style, although it's a pretty bad rendition of it. But I love the colors and the ethereal feel, and I can see how it sort of influenced my future drawings. Ooh, I discovered Jiggly Souffle pancakes at that time, and ooh, they're so good. Now I want some. I also went to Warner Brothers Studios tour in Hollywood with my boyfriend's brother. My boyfriend was actually stuck at work, so I had a little date with his brother instead. And as for May 2019, I felt very uninspired during this time, and I relied on copying my spreads more than creating my own. And this was a time where I had to rethink about my path to medicine. I had spent my time living with my boyfriend previously as I studied for the MCAT, and during this time I had taken my test and I went back home with my mom, and I was unemployed. I just didn't know what to do at that time. I was in a bit of a grieving period since this was a path I've dedicated my life to since I was 10 and I didn't want to do it anymore, and that was really scary. So I made a KonMari list, naturally, and I committed to take this time to figure it all out, no matter how long it took. At this point, my mental health and self-esteem were at an all-time low, and I needed that time to actually listen to what I wanted and what works for me and not what others wanted or was successful for other people, because I'm not them. And this was a record of the road trip that I had with my boyfriend before coming back home. It was a lot of fun despite being confined to a car for hours in the heat or the thunderstorm and constantly sleeping, only to wake up to stuff my face with food, although it was really, really good food. But it was also really exciting, seeing all the beautiful scenery and iconic sights, blasting country music, and bonding with the people I cared about. And I think it was what I needed at that time, and I'm really glad that I did it. And this is my July 2019 page. This was the first human portrait that I was really, really proud of because it was the best I've ever drawn so far at that time. I wanted to make a sunset theme, and I was experimenting with ink brush pens at the time. I was also getting into spirituality and tarot at that time too. And this is my August 2019 page. I actually used nail polish to make this spread, to make the red splotches. I wanted to try something new. And here's a little self-portrait of myself. Ooh, I love this spread. I collected seashells and pressed flowers that I found at the beach when I had a beach day with my mom. I placed the shells inside the thin film of paper, and I wrote about the scenery there because I didn't want to forget about it. It was a beautiful day and a wonderful way to end the summer. I had a lot of fun collaging with the scraps that I like to collect. And this was my September 2019 page. And this was the first summer that I could fully enjoy it because I would usually be in school and studying for upcoming midterms, which sucked all the fun out of this very short and very wonderful season. But now I had the time to enjoy it, and I did so with journaling. I loved the orange and blue contrast, and I thought it was perfect for September because I had very hot Indian summers during that month, and I thought those colors showcased both summer and the beginning of autumn really well together. And of course, I had to make a fall bucket list and a watch list because I love watching fall movies. Let me know if you would like me to make a list of autumn movies or activities that I enjoy. Let me know down in the comments below. Oh, I loved making clouds during that time too. And this was my October 2019 spread, and this was my favorite month of autumn because 1, it's my birthday month, and 2, it's spoopy season. And I wanted to make my October spreads emulate a grimoire, a witch's book of shadows, a spell book, whatever you call it. So I stained the papers with tea, and I burnt the edges with a candle. I went full out, you guys. It was so much fun to get hands-on and crafty, especially by the candlelight in the spookiest time of the year. And I, of course, made another movie list, all with all the good spoopy movies. And I also got some wax seals at that time. So I was journaling my heart away, experimenting with all these pretty and appropriate stationery for the fall. And this is my November 2019 spread. And this was when I was first starting to see a signature style that I liked using for my journals, and a lot of people started to take notice of it as well. And I was inspired by croquis sketching and by my grandma, actually. I had visited my grandma that month, and I just appreciated how love came in all kinds of forms and relationships, not just romantically. So I was inspired to make an autumn love story theme, and I'm pretty proud of it. It was also my first time using watercolor, at least since middle school, so it was a lot of fun and an approachable way to start using or getting back into a medium. And this is my November calendar. I actually messed up on this drawing since I was only using ink and no pencil sketching beforehand. I just wanted to try it out, but I decided to just keep it and just paint it all one color since I really like the color scheme. And these are just my diary entries of my time there. I really loved messy and simplistic line art at the time, and I still do, to be honest. And before I knew it, December arrived, and I really enjoyed this theme because red and green and Christmas, such a good combo. And this was a collab that I did on Instagram, and it was so much fun. And this is my January 2020 cover, and I did a drawing of Himeno Reino. She's an art YouTuber, and her art is amazing, such an inspiration. And while this was one of the more spiritual months for me, it was also the most uninspiring. I made a letter to myself to read when I would feel low or doubtful, and that helped from time to time. And I drew a portrait of how my future self would look like. So as I said, this was a very spiritual, healing kind of month for me. And I was just taking things slow this month, especially since I was usually the type of person to be always on the go. And then the most unspeakable thing happened, and I still felt uninspired going towards February. I wanted to make a window theme inspired by the scenery I saw through my windows, but my skills did not match my vision, and it was very, very frustrating. But I loved using these flower stamps though. My friend got it for me for Christmas, and I was very happy to use them. I also loved experimenting with Chia Oscuro, which I didn't know how to incorporate into a spread, but I liked using these scraps of papers to do it. Nevertheless, I had a lot of fun, and I probably will do more one day. Just haven't really gotten the time or the inspiration to try it again. And this was my April 2020 spread. This was the month of staying home and the start of one of my favorite spreads, actually. I wanted to do an Alice in Wonderland theme while being inspired by the nature around me. I saw a lot of greens and purples and flowers blooming around me, especially at this peak month of spring. And I felt so inspired, and I was falling in love with cottagecore aesthetic, which I didn't really know the term at the time, but it was starting to get traction and popularity too at that time as well. And this was the page that got quote-unquote famous and was reposted by the tidying queen, Miss Marie Kondo. I made a KonMari list, and it's kind of funny when I think about it. It's coming full circle, how I was feeling really lost when I was making it, and now I was getting a little bit more control of my life when I was making this list. I was really proud of this spread. I felt really creatively happy, and especially with this tea bag that I made. I love it so much. And this was the last page. I wanted to make a last cover page for April, although I struggled with this page. I don't really like it, but you know, it happens. I don't always make the most perfect spreads, but it's just the way it is, and I always have the opportunity to create more, so I try not to dwell on it. As for May 2020, I was really going head in with this spring cottagecore themes. I love the colors and the flowers I used in this one. I was experimenting with watercolor and color pencils more as well, and I'm pretty happy with what I made. And this is my June 2020 page. It was Pride Month, as well as that time of quote-unquote awakening, as I would like to call it. So I tried to make a tribute to both of those events that happened in that month. I also used line art and painted with tea to make the vintagey look, because I love the look of nature and old yellow parchment paper. So I kind of experimented with that one. And as for my July 2020 page, I was inspired by the Van Gogh quote, "I know nothing with any certainty, but the sight of the stars make me dream." And I wanted to use a starry blue watercolor with white stars, but I wasn't able to go through with it. Something was missing. I just couldn't figure out at the time, and I think I was in that weird low point of creativity where I just like used up all my creativity juice. So I was kind of like losing momentum there. And as you can tell, I was really struggling with creativity, especially in August. Do you see these teared pages? And before I knew it, September rolled around. I was uninspired to create for a while, so I wanted to draw something that brought me joy and not think too much about it looking good for others. I wanted to just create to make me happy. So I stuck to a theme based on my favorite fall show, Over the Garden Wall, which I have been incessantly recommending you guys. And I recommend you get on it, to be honest. And I made my first YouTube video making these spreads as well, and I'll link those videos in the description. It was a really new and exciting time, and I hope you enjoy that video as much as I really enjoyed making it. And this is my fall collab that I did with my Instagram friends, where someone has to give you 3 words related to fall, and you choose a word and you make a theme on it. And I had fall fashion wear. I was really scared at first because I never really drew clothes before, and it was always really intimidating with, you know, all the folds and all the details in there, but I actually had a lot of fun, and I haven't felt so meditative about drawing in a really long time. And I absolutely loved how it turned out, especially with all the little fall-esque details. The newspaper I chose to collage with was written about a Halloween fair that was held a couple years prior, and the autumn quote by Raquel Franco, as well as the brown and yellow watercolor I used to make the leaf-like borders, gave such a nice autumnal touch, in my opinion. One of the best spreads I've ever made. As for October 2020, I had a really nice vision in my mind, but I didn't get a chance to ink anything. I drew it, but I didn't get a chance to ink anything. Partly because I was a little bit ambitious. I wanted to incorporate Inktober into my journaling spreads, which, oh my god, looking back now, I'm like, are you crazy, girl? And on top of that, I had to finish a commission for a client, so I had a lot on my plate, so my bujo fell to the wayside. But I look back on that month pretty fondly, and I feel proud of how far I've come, even though my spread doesn't seem to really reflect it. As for November 2020, I wanted to try something new, but I struggled to keep it going. I mean, I inked it and colored it, so that's a start. As much as I love the idea of the poisonous mushroom theme for November, I was starting to feel a lot of pressure to make my journal look good, and I did not like what I was making. Looking back now, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty nice, but at the time I thought it was so ugly, and I just lost all motivation, and again, my bujo fell to the wayside. And by that time, I felt uninspired by journaling, and I wasn't being productive anymore. So I had to stop and reevaluate things, unfortunately. But also fortunately, because it's totally okay, and it happens. That's just life. Sometimes we have to just take a step back and reevaluate our why and what brings us joy, because I want to be able to live my life in alignment with my values, not for the reasons dictated by society or other people.
And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed my bullet journal flip through. It was really nostalgic for me, and I can't believe that a lot has happened within the past 2 years, and I got inspired to journal again. I actually started a Harry Potter spread for September that I'm really excited to show you guys. It's most likely going to be like a paint with me and like an autumn tag, and I'm actually really excited to share with you some future fall content. I have a lot of ideas, at least art-wise, so I'm so excited to get into the spooky and the cool autumn season. So if you want to keep a lookout for that, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so it can feed it to the algorithm and help me grow my channel. And with that, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one.